Make 2026 the year that you set your standards, not your goals. You're listening to the Be Better podcast. I'm Harrison Orr, and after working with almost 500 men individually, it has become blatantly clear that your ability to stay grounded is literally the linchpin in how well you can grow in business, in your relationship, and as a man. And when it comes to this time of year, most people will fall into one of three categories. Either one, it's just a non-event. It means nothing to them. Life goes on as usual. Two, they just zone out, right? They'll use this time, this period as a complete decompression, a complete switch off. Maybe they overdo it with the food, the alcohol, the escape from reality as much as it is, and just wait till they go back into the grind come early to mid-January. Or the third type of person who uses this time of year as a bit of reflection and then maybe even projection into the next year. And so I'm going to talk to that man, that person in this episode. And I want to say this from a place of love. Fuck your goals in 2026. So many people, myself included, have set goals, New Year's resolutions, you may call them, even gone to the effort of making a vision board as such. And the amount of people that have actually executed that is very, very small. And it's wonder why we even set this when it's such a minuscule number, right? I'd say it's pretty similar to the amount of people that actually win the lottery. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, the people that set the goals, they either do it because of this societal pressure that they maybe feel at this time of year. Like, oh, it's a new year, I have to set new goals, and subconsciously, as a man, you probably don't subscribe to this, but subconsciously, it's still the same thinking as new year, new me, right? I need to be better than I was last year. I need to be making more money. I need to be a better husband or father. I need to have a better body, or depending on the season of your life, will determine what is the biggest change or direction that you're heading in for this next 12 months. Now, the problem with having that expectation or feeling that pressure externally is we set this arbitrary goal that really means nothing, in the sense that when it comes to actually doing the work required to achieve that, it's just, there's no motivation, there's no desire to actually do that. There's no desire to endure the suck, the hard work that it takes to achieve that goal. And so lo and behold, those goals don't get achieved. Come mid-February, maybe even earlier, and most of this category of person has probably even forgotten about their goals. Or the other type who set the goals, but then go and do nothing about it, right? They're well-intended, but they don't follow through with a plan. They don't have any new standards they need to meet. There's no actionable items or plan to actually go and make that achievable, right? It's just, well, I'd like to make 100,000 this year. I'd not like to hit 1 million this year. I'd like to do this. And they create these just random numbers or external factors as their measure of success, but then don't reel it back into, okay, what does that look like on a month-to-month basis? What do I need to hit by, halfway through the year? What do I need to hit by quarter one? What do I need to hit by, the end of January? What do I need to hit throughout the week and each day? And for a lot of people, if you have these lofty goals, like, that's amazing. I love that thinking. I love the big picture thinking. Elon Musk is an advocate for, setting your 10-year goal, but try to do it in 6 months. You'll fail, but you'll probably get a hell of a lot further than you would if you were trying to hit your 6-month goal in 6 months, right? And so when we break it down, it makes it a lot easier to then see, okay, what do I actually need to be doing? And we can break this into a couple of segments, because the first way I want you to think about is, like, when we break those things down, look at it from the 10x opportunity, right? When we look at, okay, I've only got a finite amount of time that I can give to this, right? I'm not going to give up my job to focus solely on my relationship. I'm not going to give up my relationship to focus on the business, right? I'm not going to give up everything in life just to, go and get fit. We have a finite amount of time. What are the highest leverage opportunities that we can focus on? What are the 10x opportunities that we can put our time towards here? And that will massively distill your action items needed down until to the things that actually move the needle. And that can remove a huge amount of overwhelm for a lot of people. But I'm not focusing on the goals right now. Not even focusing on those actions, the planning of this. I want to focus on something that is much more controllable. Because when we think about these goals for most people, right, whether it's the type of marriage that they have, the type of business, the level of income, the lifestyle, in all of those, they are outcome focused. And with those outcomes, there is a level of external responses, actions, or things that need to take place, which are ultimately out of our control. There are certain things that we can obviously do to put ourselves in the best possible position to make that a reality. Like we can have a hypothesis of if I do this every single day for the next 6 months, then based on that hypothesis, based on what I've read and heard and seen of other people, that it would make it unrealistic or unreasonable at least, that I wouldn't achieve or at least be much closer to said goal. And that's getting us closer to where we want to focus on what is massively within our control and what has let a lot of men down up until this point in their life is the standards that they hold. The standards that they hold in their relationship for themselves when no one's looking, as a father, maybe even in certain elements of the business. And those standards, how you show up every single day, become your habits. And your habits will dictate the results that you get in the future. Right? What you do most of the time is what you will achieve. Not some of the time, most of the time. So sure, you can go and have a late night here. You can go and do the thing that's outside of alignment or the plan over here. But what you do most of the time is what has got you to this point and is what will get you to that next point when it's aligned with that version. So I want to walk you through a framework that I use and makes it very easy to understand what this looks like. And I'll give you tangible actions and how to actually map this for 2026. So the first point is, if you do have some goals, like external outcome focused, whether it's lifestyle or it's relationship, fatherhood, business, whatever it is, let's bring it back to you, right? My focus in coaching and everything is always bringing it back to you, bringing it back to the controllables that you have 100% control over, which is you, your behaviors, your emotions, your actions. And so who is the man that you would need to become that is capable of creating that type of relationship, that is capable of leading his wife and his kids like that is capable of leading the team, the business to that level of growth, that is capable of having that type of physique or mindset or personal growth? What are his traits? Is he more disciplined? Does he stay grounded in times of chaos? Does he lean into hard conversations? Does he take more decisive, specific action as opposed to delaying it, right? All these little things which, when we start to build this man, essentially, it becomes a lot easier to then articulate of, okay, these are the action items or these are the traits that I need to start practicing. Now, once we've got the traits of that man, I highly recommend you writing these down. And don't go crazy writing pages and pages, but pick top 5 to 10, for example, the highest leverage ones. Some of them will be downstream effects. For example, being impeccable with your word is a pretty broad term, but it's also covers a lot, but it's also very easy to measure as well. If you are impeccable with your word, did you do what you say you would do? That's a yes or a no question, right? That's not up to, oh yeah, but yeah, if there's a but, it means no, right? If you're justifying or negotiating the standards or the timing or things like that, it's a no, right? Stop kidding ourselves. Stop trying to protect your ego. It's a no. Now, the second step, once we've got those traits, we've got an idea of who that man is we're becoming, that provides us the direction, right? The amount of guys that I speak to, I'm like, oh, I just don't want to be in this space. I just don't want to be a nice guy. Okay, well, who do you want to be? And they kind of get lost a little bit. We need to have that direction, because when we have the direction, it makes it so much easier for us to make decisions on the actions, on the books that we read, on the people that we invest in as coaches or mentors, on our behaviors. Is this, by asking ourselves, I should say, is this aligned with the man that I want to be? Do I believe that this action, this investment, this opportunity will get me closer to that man? If we don't know who that is, that's a very hard question to answer. It's guesswork at that point. So cool. We know the man that we're becoming now. The second phase, and again, guys like Elon, very high level guys use this level of thinking. Warren Buffett, I think, was another guy that used to use this, or Charlie Munger, I can't remember which one it was. Inversion thinking. Now, inversion thinking will help you if you have struggled to then identify, like, okay, what do I need to do to have those traits? What do I need to do to become that man? Because again, you can find a myriad of things. Inversion thinking is the opposite. If I wanted to make sure I never became that man, if I never became grounded, if I was always reactive, if I never became disciplined or was never able to lead myself or my relationship, what would I have to do? What would I have to do to sabotage myself and never become that man? Just a quick announcement, guys. If you are a high-performing father or a successful business owner who's built the life you said you always wanted, and even a life most men would envy, but deep down you feel like something's off. Your drive and fire is just your marriage just feels stale, your energy's just not what it used to be, or maybe you're still stuck in the nice guy syndrome, but you're ready to lead with real presence and confidence again. Well, that's exactly what I help men like you to do. So if you're ready to take action and want to know if my coaching is right for you, either scroll down to the show notes or go to my Instagram page, The Elite Father, and click on the link tree to apply. You've built a business success. Now let's build success where it really matters. Now, back to the show. And then you list out those things. What would I never have to do? Like, what are all the things that I would do that would sabotage that and make sure that I never become that man? And insight here, it's going to hurt your ego a little bit, because a lot of these things you're probably doing right now. So as much as moving forward is about changing behaviors in terms of things that we now need to start doing, it's also just as much about the things that we are going to stop doing too. So we're going to stop saying yes when we want to say no. We're going to stop avoiding hard conversations. We're going to stop people pleasing at the cost of our own truth and our own beliefs. Then, once we have that inverted list, that's step number 2. Step number 3 is going to be now creating the new standards. So for example, if that standard, one of your standards for this new man that you're becoming was, I never delay a task that I can do in less than 2 minutes, right? Amazing. Or I never delay taking action. Cool, that's broad enough, but let's make it more specific. Your new standard might be, if a task takes me less than 2 minutes, I do it immediately. Otherwise, I put it into my calendar as soon as possible based on urgency and importance. Right? That is a very crystal clear standard on how we operate. And now go through all of those inverted items and create the standard from those. Now, I highly suggest making it a positive standard. I don't mean positive in like airy-fairy type things, but not a negative. Like, we're not saying, I never do this, I never do that. Like, we're not focusing on the things that we don't do here. It's important to then say, cool, what we're letting go of, but the standard that we hold. Okay, this is how I handle hard conversations. This is the timeline in which I take action. This is how I speak my truth, right? This is how I engage with my wife, with the team at work, with my kids. Like, these are the standards that I'm now setting as my default behavior. Every standard you create should be a simple yes or no, right? It needs to be super binary in did you meet this standard or not? Not, well, it has these certain criteria and like everything is like, no. Did I delay this? Yes or no? Did I do this in the time frame that I said I would? The action within 2 minutes or the scheduling? Yes or no? Did I avoid hard conversations today? Yes or no? Then, if you want to, you can even make this into a checklist. Get it laminated, and every single day it either gets a red cross or a green tick, just as an accountability piece. Because then you will see visually how you are showing up each day. You'll also start to see the ones that are easy for you. You're like, okay, cool, I set the bar pretty low in doing this. I was kind of already doing this, but I put it there to boost my ego and give myself some dopamine and give myself that green tick. And the other things that there's always a yeah, but attached to it, or a justification, or yeah, I didn't do it today because, and some excuse attached to it. Cool. There's a part of you that's defending that behavior because it's not really ready to let go of it just yet. There's a part of you that behavior serves. That behavior protects you in some way. Maybe it protects you from rejection. It protects you from maybe being embarrassed. It protects you from something else which in the past has resulted in a negative emotion, a heightened emotion that is trying to avoid you from experiencing again, something much deeper. And so you can just keep pushing forward, just relentlessly force yourself to take more micro steps in that direction. Or you can go and seek some coaching, seek some mentoring to dive deeper into those roadblocks there. Depending on where you're at in your journey and how deep some of these blocks are will depend on how easy you can either navigate them yourself or maybe need to seek some external counsel and guidance on that. But with this, I highly recommend you breaking these standards up into the different areas, right? So like you as a whole, amazing, but it can be easier to segment them into, cool, this is my standard in a relationship. This is my standard how I show up for the business team. And this is how I show up for myself. For yourself is important. I say obviously one of the most important because what falls under that category is when nobody is watching. Now, if you're still a nice guy, some of these standards will be easier to meet when you're showing up for your wife, for your kids, or for the team at work because you have someone to show up for. Now, there's an element of that is still a mask because they're still doing it from the approval, the love, the external praise, or you're doing it for somebody else as opposed to yourself. But the standards that you hold for yourself are the ones that will bleed into every other area of your life. Like the standards that you hold for yourself are the ones that either enhance and solidify or diminish the trust and respect and ultimately safety as well that you have in yourself. Because that part of you knows that, cool, man, as soon as no one's looking, you spend hours on social media. You kick back, you don't do any work, you let all your standards go, everything becomes a mess and you become sloppy. And so when it comes time to holding higher standards in front of other people, or even not worse, but even more prevalent, is when you have to hold other people to high standards. There's that part of you that feels, like I feel weird about this, and maybe you either don't hold them to that standard because you feel incongruent because you don't hold it for yourself, or you kind of do it, but it doesn't get fully embraced or received by the other person because they don't believe that it's a standard you hold because you don't lead by example. And that's the difference between someone, the leader approach of, do as I say, not as I do, which a lot of people like to use that as their parenting method, which I promise you does not work. As opposed to holding the standard for ourselves, it becomes so much easier. And actually we don't have to have so many conversations with other people around those standards because that's how we show up. And when we show up with that level of standard, it dictates to everybody else, this is the standard when you're in this space. This is the standard of professionalism when you're in this office. This is the standard of communication and regulation and communication and honesty in this household when you interact with us. Like, this is the standard of how we do this. When you lead by example, your actions do the talking. And it becomes so much easier, by extension, to set those boundaries. One of the biggest things nice guys lack in their relationship, not just in their marital, but in like work and everybody else, even with their kids, is trust and respect. And that's just an extension of themselves. Like if you don't trust and respect yourself, why would anybody else? We tell everybody else how to treat us. They learn how to treat us by how we treat ourselves and how we allow others to treat us. An example of this: if you get into your mate's new car, sorry, not even new, if you get into your mate's car, right, and it doesn't really matter what make it is, say it's a Toyota Swift or it's some car, like average car. It's not massively expensive. It's not a piece of shit. It's just an average car. But you get in and it is immaculate. Everything is cleaned. There's no dust. There's no crumbs on the floor. There's no dirty chip wrappers or chewing gum or anything. Like, it's immaculate. You get in there, you are on your best behavior. You wipe your shoes off, wipe the dirt off your shoes before you get into the car. You sit nice and upright, nice and tight, like you're making sure that you're not a mess. You wouldn't dare eat in this guy's car. You wouldn't make a mess. You wouldn't leave it worse than you found it, without him having to say a word. Because how he treats it will show you the level of value and standard that is acceptable in this environment to him. On the opposite side of that, you get into a mate's car and there's chip wrappers, it's dirty, there's crumbs everywhere, hasn't been washed in months, it's just like trash everywhere. You don't give a shit, right? And this is not about respect for that person or being rude of any sort intentionally. It's just, okay, cool, I can see how much you value this car, I can see how you treat it, so I will treat it accordingly. You won't bother brushing the dirt off your shoes when you get in. You won't really care to even ask if you can eat in the car or anything like that. You spill a couple crumbs, yeah, sure, you pick them up, you throw them out the window to be polite kind of thing. But if a couple get on the floor, it's not like it's going to make a massive difference because there's already shit everywhere. Again, without a single word spoken. Because that standard of how he held himself and his environment in his car taught you how to treat it. Now we are the same. The standards that we hold for ourselves teach everybody else how to interact with us. So, to wrap this up, if you want to make 2026 better than 2025, better than any year, set your standards. Fuck your goals, set your standards. What you will not tolerate, how you are showing up every single day in your business, in your relationship. If you want to even go further with this as well, you can go to your partner, set some standards in the relationship. Communicate the type of relationship that you guys want to have. What does that look like exactly? And we don't just mean like, oh, well, we go on a date night every week and we have sex 3 times a week and we do this and we do this. Yeah, amazing. That's all sunshines and rainbows. That's fun. But that's not realistic, right? In the sense that there are going to be disagreements. There are going to be some downtime. There's going to be all these like maintenance things that aren't fun and exciting, that are just keeping everything together. So then getting clear on the standards. How do we navigate disagreement? Right? How do we share our truth with the other person without them getting offended and being able to navigate this so we can come out stronger from these arguments or these disagreements rather than distance and sweeping it under the rug? How do we maintain our connection each week? Right? Is that we sit down and have our coffee together for 10 minutes every morning, or on a Sunday we spend 30 minutes, 60 minutes, just deeply connected without the kids, just you and I, no screens, no nothing, just conversing. How was the week? What did we do well? What can we do better? What was amazing with us this week? What needs work? Like, just honest reflection from the place of we love each other and we're trying to grow here together. That then almost becomes bylaws and standards of the relationship so that you guys can hold individually and hold each other to as you move forward through the year. And again, that becomes the new standard. Because remember, we don't rise to the level of our goals. Most people will think, oh, I've got this goal that'll help me level up and get motivated and keep moving forward and doing all the hard things. Yeah, but when it's boring, when it's repetitive, it will not happen. You won't have that drive. When that happens, we fall to the level of our standards. We fall to the level of our most ingrained habits. And so the process of setting these standards is like, yeah, first, you're going to need the checkbox. You're going to need the phone reminders. You're going to need the accountability, all the things to keep that going when you conveniently forget, when it's boring, when you don't feel like it. Like, heard all of it, used all of it too. When you do that long enough, that becomes the new standard. That becomes the default behavior. That becomes what you do, how you show up, how you respond on autopilot. And that's the goal, to continually level up, to make the new highest level habits and standards the new default. So then even if things get stressful, even if life chaos hits, we fall to that level of standard. We don't go all the way down to being a drug addict, a cheater, and ending up homeless. Like, we fall down to still getting up at the same time every night, every morning, still going to the bed at the same time, still communicating with our wife, still grounding ourselves, still showing up, present, despite everything else. Like, imagine how much further you could progress in life if that's your standard, regardless of the stress. And then imagine how much progress you can make in the times that you don't have the stress and things are going well. Absolutely a game changer. So we'll wrap that up there. Now, you have the process, set the standards. Don't let your ego get in the way and let you believe that you're further ahead than you are. Stay more consistent than you think you need to. I promise you, your ego will get in the way like, oh yeah, I've done this for 2 weeks in a row. I'm sweet. I don't need to keep ticking this off. I don't need to keep, being mindful of this. I promise you, it will take a hell of a lot longer than 2 weeks. It's months, right? Do it until you're so bored of it, until you've hit literally 90 days of nothing but green ticks. Then you can maybe think about considering in the future, maybe next year, not having to be so intentional about it. But by then, your standard will be so ingrained that you won't have to worry about it. And you'll be like, fuck Harrison, that was boring, but thank you. And you're welcome. So with that, don't be sorry, be better, set your standards and stick to them. I'll see you next time.